Poor girl texted the CEO by mistake. He sent $100,000. She only wanted baby formula for her twins. Have you ever sent a text to the wrong person? Maybe it was an embarrassing message meant for your best friend, or a quick note that accidentally landed in your boss's inbox. For most of us, these moments are just minor blunders, things we laugh about later. But what if one tiny mistake changed everything? What if a desperate late-night text, sent by accident, didn't just embarrass you, but completely transformed your life? That's exactly what happened to Sarah Mitchell, a single mother of twins who found herself at rock bottom, struggling to afford even the basics, like baby formula. In her darkest moment, she accidentally texted Andrew Reynolds, the billionaire CEO of Reynolds Enterprises. And here's the twist. Instead of ignoring her plea, he responded by sending her $100,000. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, buckle up, because this story is far from over. Sarah wasn't living the dream. She was barely surviving. Her days were filled with diaper changes, sleepless nights, and constant worry about how she'd make ends meet. The twins, Emma and Ethan, were only 3 months old when their father, James, walked out on them without looking back. Since then, Sarah had been juggling odd jobs while trying to care for her babies, all in a tiny studio apartment that doubled as a nursery. It wasn't glamorous, but it was home. Or at least, it was until the bills started piling up faster than she could pay them. On the night it all began, Sarah sat on her worn-out couch, staring at her phone, typing a frantic message to her best friend Lisa. "I can't believe I'm out of formula again. The twins are going through it so fast, and I won't get paid for another 2 weeks. Do you still have that sample the hospital gave you? I hate to ask, but I'm completely broke." Except the message never reached Lisa. Instead, it went straight to Andrew Reynolds, a man Sarah had met just once during a job interview, a man who now held her future in his hands. Andrew Reynolds wasn't just any CEO. He was known for his quiet generosity, though few people knew the full extent of it. Behind the scenes, he funded scholarships, paid off medical bills, and supported countless families in need. But Sarah didn't know any of that when her phone buzzed with a reply. At first, she thought it was some kind of prank. How could someone like Andrew Reynolds care about her problems? Yet there it was, a notification from her bank app confirming a deposit of $100,000. As disbelief washed over her, she read his simple yet profound message. "Consider it a gift. My mother was a single mom too." Just like that, Sarah's world shifted, but not entirely in the way she expected. With the money came relief, yes, but also questions. Why would someone like him help someone like her? Was there a catch? And, more importantly, why did accepting his kindness feel so complicated? As Sarah tried to wrap her head around the unexpected windfall, life threw her another curveball. James, the twins' absentee father, suddenly reappeared. But this wasn't a heartwarming reunion. It was something much darker. Somehow, James had learned about the money, thanks to a careless slip by Sarah's friend Lisa, and he wasted no time making demands. "Half the cash," he said, or he'd fight for custody of the twins. For Sarah, the nightmare was far from over. Every decision felt like walking a tightrope. Should she give in to James's threats and risk losing everything she'd worked for? Or should she stand her ground, knowing it might mean dragging her children into a messy legal battle? And then came the unthinkable. James orchestrated a kidnapping, taking the twins hostage to ensure Sarah handed over the money. Suddenly, Sarah wasn't just fighting for financial stability. She was fighting for her family's safety. But Sarah wasn't alone in this fight. Andrew Reynolds stepped up in ways she never anticipated. His actions weren't just those of a generous benefactor. They revealed a deeper sense of empathy and responsibility. Raised by a single mother himself, Andrew understood the struggles Sarah faced in a way few others could. Together with his own mother, Elelonina Reynolds, they formed an unlikely support system for Sarah. Elelonina, despite battling Parkinson's disease, remained a pillar of strength, offering wisdom and guidance, born from decades of helping other single parents through the Reynolds Foundation. This foundation became a lifeline for Sarah, connecting her with resources and opportunities she hadn't dared to dream of. But as much as Andrew and Elelonina wanted to help, the question lingered: could Sarah trust them completely? After all, her life had become a whirlwind of surprises, some miraculous, others terrifying. The stakes kept rising as Sarah navigated this new reality. Accepting the money meant stepping into a world she didn't fully understand, where power dynamics and hidden agendas lurked beneath the surface. Could she really rely on Andrew's promises of no strings attached? Or was there something more to his generosity? Meanwhile, the twins remained at the center of it all, their innocence a stark contrast to the chaos surrounding them. As Sarah rocked Emma and Ethan to sleep each night, she couldn't shake the fear that one wrong move could cost her everything. Her love for her children drove every decision, but it also made her vulnerable. With the same act of vulnerability that brought her hope ultimately lead to her downfall. Just when it seemed like things couldn't get any more intense, the story took yet another turn. With the police involved, James behind bars, and the twins safely back in her arms, Sarah finally had a chance to breathe. But the aftermath left her grappling with bigger questions. Who was she now, after everything that had happened? Could she step into the role Andrew and Elelonina envisioned for her within the foundation? And what about Andrew himself? Their relationship had evolved from employer-employee to something deeper, though neither of them was ready to define it just yet. As Sarah stood on the brink of a new chapter, she realized that the journey was far from over. There were still challenges ahead, lessons to learn, and choices to make. The road to rebuilding her life wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in a long time, she felt a glimmer of hope. So, where does this leave Sarah? With $100,000 in her account, a job offer at Reynolds Enterprises, and the possibility of working alongside the foundation that had already changed her life, she had options. But freedom comes with its own set of responsibilities. What will she choose? Will she take the safe route, sticking to what she knows? Or will she embrace the unknown and step into a brighter future? And what about James? Though he's locked away, his shadow looms large over Sarah's newfound peace. Is this the end of his influence? Or will he find a way to resurface? Stay tuned for the next part of this incredible story, where we'll dive deeper into Sarah's transformation and uncover whether this accidental connection with Andrew Reynolds will continue to bring blessings or bring trouble knocking at her door. The days following the twins' kidnapping felt like a lifetime compressed into mere hours. Sarah sat in Andrew's penthouse, her body numb, but her mind racing. Every sound made her jump. Every silence pressed down on her chest. She replayed James's smug smile over and over in her head, his words cutting deeper each time. Insurance. How could someone so callous be the father of her children? The thought made her stomach churn. But as much as she wanted to hate him, she couldn't ignore the role she'd played in this disaster. If she hadn't sent that accidental text, if she hadn't accepted Andrew's money, would any of this have happened? Guilt gnawed at her, even as Lisa tried to reassure her. It wasn't her fault. Lisa had shown up shortly after they returned to the penthouse, her face pale and streaked with tears. "I'm so sorry, Sarah," she whispered, sitting beside her friend while clutching a mug of tea Andrew's staff had prepared. "I never thought Darren would tell anyone, let alone James. I didn't know what they were planning, I swear." Sarah nodded absently, too drained to respond. She believed Lisa. She had no reason not to. Still, the betrayal stung. For months, Lisa had been her rock, the one person she trusted completely. Now that trust felt fragile, cracked under the weight of unintended consequences. Lisa stayed for a while, offering quiet support before leaving to give her statement to the police. Alone again, Sarah focused on the twins, holding them close, as though shielding them from the world's cruelty. Meanwhile, Andrew worked tirelessly behind the scenes. His calm demeanor masked the storm of activity he orchestrated. Calls to lawyers, updates from the police, arrangements for additional security measures around Sarah and the babies. He moved through the penthouse like a man on a mission, his phone glued to his ear, his brow furrowed in concentration. Yet whenever he glanced at Sarah, his expression softened. There was something about her resilience that struck him deeply. Despite everything, she hadn't crumbled. Instead, she clung to hope, to her children, to the belief that things would get better. It reminded him of his mother during their darkest days, fighting tooth and nail to keep their family intact. As night fell, Elena arrived, her presence bringing an aura of warmth and strength. Despite her physical frailty, she carried a bag filled with fresh formula, diapers, and tiny outfits she'd picked up en route. "For my new grandchildren," she said with a gentle smile, placing the items on the table. Her voice carried a mix of authority and tenderness, qualities Sarah found both comforting and inspiring. Elena settled into a chair near Sarah, watching the twins sleep. "You're stronger than you think, dear," she murmured. "And you're not alone anymore." Sarah looked at her, tears welling in her eyes. "I don't understand why you're doing this. For me, for us. We're strangers." Elena chuckled softly. "Strangers can become family when life brings them together. Besides, Andrew told me your story. It resonated with me. You remind me of myself at your age. Except I didn't have anyone to help me back then. Maybe helping you is my way of making amends for all those years I couldn't save others." The conversation shifted to the foundation, its history, and its impact. Elena spoke passionately about the lives it had touched, the families it had supported. As Sarah listened, she began to see beyond the immediate crisis. This wasn't just about her or the twins. It was part of something bigger, a network of people committed to lifting each other up, to ensuring no parent faced the kind of desperation she'd endured. The realization ignited a spark within her, a desire to contribute, to pay forward the kindness she'd received. But the calm was fleeting. The next morning, the police informed them that Vanessa, James's sister, had lawyered up, claiming ignorance of her brother's plans. While the authorities worked to untangle the legal mess, Sarah couldn't shake the fear that James might find another way to hurt her. What if he appealed? What if he manipulated the system? The uncertainty loomed large, casting a shadow over the tentative peace she'd begun to feel. Even Andrew's reassurances that his team would handle everything couldn't fully dispel her anxiety. Amidst the chaos, a subplot unfolded quietly. Lisa, racked with guilt, threw herself into volunteering at the Reynolds Foundation's childcare center. It started as penance, a way to make amends, but soon became something more. She discovered a passion for working with children, particularly those facing challenges similar to Sarah's. Her relationship with Darren ended abruptly when he sided with James during questioning, revealing cracks in their partnership neither had noticed before. For the first time, Lisa considered a future outside her current life, one where she could build something meaningful. Back at the penthouse, tension simmered between Sarah and Andrew. Their connection had deepened over the past few days, forged in shared trauma and mutual respect, yet neither dared to name it aloud. Was it gratitude, friendship, something more? The unspoken question hung in the air, adding another layer of complexity to an already overwhelming situation. Sarah wrestled with conflicting emotions, grateful for Andrew's support, yet wary of leaning on him too heavily. Did accepting his help mean owing him something? Or was it possible to accept generosity without strings? The climax approached swiftly. News broke that James had accepted a plea deal, agreeing to terminate his parental rights permanently in exchange for reduced charges. Legally, he would no longer threaten Sarah's custody of the twins. Emotionally, however, the scars remained. The day the papers were signed, Sarah stood outside the courthouse, the crisp autumn air biting at her cheeks. She watched James being led away in handcuffs, his gaze avoiding hers. Relief washed over her, but it was bittersweet. The man who had once promised to love her and their children was now a stranger, a dangerous one she hoped never to see again. Yet the resolution was incomplete. Questions lingered. What did Sarah owe Andrew? Where did her path lead now? And how could she ensure the twins grew up safe, loved, and free from the shadows of their past? As she stepped into Andrew's waiting car, the city skyline glowing. In the distance, Sarah knew the answers wouldn't come easily. But for the first time, she felt ready to face whatever lay ahead. Not because she had all the solutions, but because she finally had allies, resources, and most importantly, hope. The journey was far from over, but she was no longer walking it alone. The next morning, Sarah woke up to the twins' laughter, echoing through her new home. For the first time in months, she didn't feel the crushing weight of uncertainty pressing down on her chest. Instead, there was a quiet confidence, a sense that no matter what challenges lay ahead, she had the tools and support to face them. As she prepared breakfast, Andrew's message replayed in her mind. Dinner tomorrow. Elena wants to discuss expanding the emergency response initiative to 3 more cities. It wasn't just an invitation. It was another step forward in a life she'd once thought impossible. That evening, as Sarah walked into the Reynolds family dining room with Emma and Ethan in tow, she felt a warmth she hadn't expected. The table was set with care. Fresh flowers, soft lighting, and plates filled with dishes Elena knew Sarah loved. She realized then how much this family, however unconventional, had come to mean to her. Elena greeted her with a smile, her eyes twinkling despite her illness. "You've done remarkable work, dear," she said, patting Sarah's hand. "This foundation wouldn't be where it is today without you." Andrew nodded in agreement, his gaze steady on Sarah. "You've changed lives, including mine," he added softly. His words caught her off guard, but before she could respond, Elena launched into their plans for expansion. They talked about partnerships with local businesses, fundraising strategies, and ways to reach even more families in need. Sarah listened intently, contributing ideas born from her own experiences. By the end of the meal, they had outlined a roadmap that would touch thousands of lives. But as the conversation wound down, Sarah found herself reflecting on something deeper. "When I sent that text 6 months ago," she began hesitantly, "I never imagined it would lead me here. I thought my life was falling apart, and maybe it was. But looking back now, I see it differently. That mistake, it forced me to ask for help when I needed it most. And because I did, I found not just answers, but people who believed in me. Her words hung in the air, resonating with everyone at the table. Elena reached over and squeezed her hand. Sometimes, courage looks like vulnerability, she said gently. And sometimes, miracles happen when we least expect them. As the weeks turned into months, Sarah settled fully into her role at the foundation. Her days were busy, balancing work, parenting, and her growing responsibilities within the organization. But she thrived in the chaos. Lisa, too, found her footing, excelling in her part-time role at the childcare center and rebuilding her life after ending things with Darren. Their friendship emerged stronger than ever, rooted in honesty and mutual growth. Meanwhile, Andrew and Sarah's relationship continued to evolve. What had started as professional respect blossomed into something deeper. Neither rushed it. They both understood the importance of taking things slow. But late-night conversations and shared moments with the twins hinted at possibilities neither wanted to ignore. One evening, as they sat together, watching the sunset from Andrew's penthouse balcony, he turned to her. "Sarah," he said, his voice uncharacteristically hesitant, "I want you to know that whatever happens next, I'm grateful for you, for everything you've brought into my life." She smiled, leaning into him slightly. "Me too, Andrew. More than I can put into words." By the time the twins celebrated their first birthday, Sarah's transformation was undeniable. She stood surrounded by friends, colleagues, and the foundation's beneficiaries, watching as Emma and Ethan gleefully smashed their tiny cake. In that moment, she realized how far she'd come. From a desperate young mother struggling to provide formula to a confident woman shaping futures alongside people who truly cared. The journey hadn't been easy, but it had been worth every step. As the party wound down, Sarah tucked the twins into bed, brushing kisses across their foreheads. She lingered in their room for a moment, marveling at how these two little lives had brought her so much joy and led her to places she'd never dreamed of. Returning to the living room, she found Andrew waiting for her, a thoughtful expression on his face. "I've been thinking," he said, holding out a small envelope. "About your degree, the one you mentioned putting on hold. You deserve to finish it, Sarah, to chase the dreams you put aside for your children." Inside the envelope was an acceptance letter to a prestigious online program, along with a note confirming full tuition coverage through the Foundation's scholarship fund. Tears welled in her eyes as she looked at him. "How did you—" "I have my ways," he teased, though his smile was tender. "Consider it another gift for everything you've given us." Sarah hugged him tightly, overwhelmed by gratitude. But more than that, she felt a profound sense of belonging. This was her family now, not bound by blood, but by love, trust, and shared purpose. Life had taken her on an unimaginable journey, filled with twists and turns she couldn't have predicted. Yet here she was, standing stronger than ever, ready to embrace whatever came next. In the end, Sarah's story became a testament to resilience, generosity, and the power of human connection. It reminded her, and everyone who heard it, that even in our darkest moments, there's always hope. Sometimes all it takes is one brave act, one honest plea to change everything. And sometimes the greatest mistakes lead to the most beautiful beginnings.